From the center of the galaxy, this is ForceCenter, show about Star Wars pop culture and the ultimate adventure, life itself. I'm Ken Napzok.
I'm Joseph Scrimshaw, and we're both sleepy.
Yeah, we are. Jennifer Landis sends her regards. Jennifer Landis probably sleeping in. No, she's not. She's probably up before us. But yes, I'm tired.
Yeah, no, we were talking right before we hit the record button about getting to sleep in over this holiday weekend. And it's nothing to complain about. I'm sitting in my sweatpants in my own living room. But I still did have to get up like 4 hours earlier than I normally do and just slam into that wall of work. Time to work.
Yeah, worked mostly through the holidays. Had some time to relax, but one of the days didn't even intend to. Those are the best sleep-in days, right? When your body's like, we're not getting up because we don't have to get up. Yep. And I woke up to a text from a friend like, "Hey, you want to go for a walk?" And it was 2 hours old. I was like, "Oh, I missed that window." Nope, I'm asleep.
Nope.
But now here we are. We're here. Closing down the 2025 broadcast year. We're going to be looking ahead to 2026 in Star Wars, which, as Joseph will lead us through some wonderful questions in a second, is robust, more robust than I think maybe we're led to believe. We want to remind you, though, that today's podcast is brought to you by our shop on Fourth Wall. Check out our merch store. Hey, the holiday season might be wrapping up, but you can still get a gift for you, yourself, someone you love, someone you don't love. Turn them to a ForceCenter fan. I don't know. Pick up a t-shirt, a pint glass, a coaster, something to help support the show and represent ForceCenter out in the galaxy. Links down below if you're watching on YouTube. But if you're listening, ForceCenter-shop.fourthwall.com. ForceCenter-shop.fourthwall.com. We had a good year of growth on YouTube, but we're not done. Our goals extend forward another season, Joseph.
That is right. We are building on YouTube to a subscriber goal of 10,500. I checked this morning. We're at 10,289, which is 2 more than we had before Christmas. So miracles do come true at the holidays. Thank you, Santa, for those 2 additional subscribers on YouTube. But seriously, thank you for everyone who has continues to listen to us in podcast form and then has joined us with the full face version here on YouTube. Like I said before, our initial goal when we started this was what if we had 10,000 subscribers by the time season 1 of Ahsoka came on? And then some stuff happened in the world. And now we are here and over 10,000 as we're heading toward perhaps Ahsoka season 2, certainly in 2026, but maybe we'll be 20,000 by Ahsoka season 2.
Love it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Like I said up top, Jennifer Landon not here today, out and about wrapping up the holidays with her family. So she'll return. What was on the live show, right? Yeah.
Yep.
When are we recording this? Yes. Anyways, yes. Jennifer says hello. We're going to look ahead to 2026. But any life adventures? Did Star Wars find its way into your life this week?
Just a little bit. I am trying to finish a book reading goal, and I got sidetracked from reading the Reign of the Empire book in the middle of the year. I was really enjoying it, and then I had about 100 pages left, and I've gotten back into it, and I'm continuing to enjoy it. I love that somehow it seems like 2025 was the year where Star Wars went, wait, what if Bail Organa was a bit of an asshole? What if you was, I say that in a joking way, but I do really love that both Ahsoka and Andor and this book have said let's explore him as a fully rounded human being who makes mistakes in a person who comes from a lot of money, who feels in his heart the horrors of the Empire but is slightly insulated from it, and how that might give him a different perspective. I really love what the book is playing with making him a more fully rounded, realistic human being rather than just capital H hero.
Yeah. Well, it's great. You take the Kenobi portrayal, which is just some of my favorite stuff in Star Wars, him and little Leia. But that's him at home, and then Dad's got to go to work. It sometimes can be a little tough on the job.
Yeah.
Like you said, 360. And I actually love, you mentioned the Reign of the Empire. I love the relationship between him and Mothma not being as, heroic and true admiration through and through, like we would have thought growing up. That is a little bit of tension. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, so I'm enjoying reading that. How about you? Any Star Wars adventures over the holidays?
Yeah, a little film released in 1983 called Return of the Jedi, right? I was doing some cooking When I say cooking, I was opening bags and putting it into a frying pan and simmering. Nothing from scratch. And you have that like, what should I put on? And I was like, you know what? I haven't watched just put on Return of the Jedi in a while, and just had that go in the background over the course of a couple days. Actually, check back in, and it turns out a big fan of the movie, big fan of the memories associated with it, and at some point was just saying to my Chihuahua, "As a trap," just for no reason, just because she was the only one there to listen. So. I love that. Especially as we look towards 2026 and talking about Star Wars going back to theaters and what we're hoping for that to mean. Stuff. I had a lot of fun just revisiting the film that made me fall in love with Star Wars. So
I think that's so powerful to remember that I think for kind of all-in Star Wars fans and some more casual Star Wars fans, the power of these films is how they remain in our lives in almost more kind of mundane, everyday ways of, quoting things to our chihuahuas. It's always so important to me to hold close to our hearts when we're in a period of new stuff coming out because, the discussion and the algorithms encourage you to gobble it up, spit out your opinion, and move on to the next thing. And the true power of Star Wars is how it stays with us through all those years into quotes to chihuahuas.
And I want to apologies to our buddy Hal Lublin, who despises the sequence. And I'm on the record saying it's my least favorite sequence. And I'm talking about Joe Yazza and the Expanded Jedi Rocks. But I was in the kitchen cooking, and that was playing. And in my kitchen, Joseph, I was going. I'm like, oh, I'm singing along. I didn't even think about it. Maybe I like it a little bit more.
Monty Hay, indeed. Monty Hay, indeed. I don't think it would be as despised. It would be beloved if it had always been there. It was that,
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway.
But anyways, so there you go. To Joe Yazza, Size Noodles, and the rest of Return of the Jedi fans, I tip my cap to all of you. Fun time. Well, let's dive in. We got the turning of a calendar year. We're releasing this one here on New Year's Eve day. So Happy New Year to those watching when it was released. I would love if y'all just maybe turned away from your New Year's parties and just caught up with ForceCenter before the ball drops.
If I realized we were dropping it this day, I would have worn a little hat while we were recording.
Oh, we'll get some glasses. But we're looking ahead to 2026 just of the year in Star Wars. And I'm having a lot of fun. I did this on my own podcast where I was joking, this is the 14th year I'm doing a New Year's resolutions episode. And I love that this is our 10th or 11th look ahead in Star Wars. It's a lot of fun.
We should re-release some of those too. Very excited to review this morning. Got up early to review my own memories and check things about what exactly was coming out because all the announcements flood out. And then you're like, wait, want to make sure I didn't imagine that. But I want to just start with big picture. So for you, Ken, what do you want to personally experience as a fan, as a human? What do you want to experience? What do you want to feel in 2026 from Star Wars?
This almost sounds cynical. Joy, which doesn't mean I haven't experienced joy because there was a lot of Star Wars joy in 2025. But there's something about it, and we'll talk about Mandalorian and Grogu, Return to the Theaters. There's something about that vibe and something to me about this being the first page of kind of a new chapter in the Star Wars story, not just in terms of what's being shown or what's being released, but just even the fandom, even some of the younger fans who are now a little bit older, say a Force Awakens fan was 9, now they're 19. It feels like a new era. And because maybe we looked so back on 2015 Force Awakens a lot over the last quarter of our podcast, I want to recapture that. We'll talk more about it returning to the theaters, but this feels old, feels new, and I think that's what I want.
This is amazing. That's what I thought too. Just the literal word joy. And maybe it is because of the Force Awakens and that feeling of even if Mando and Grogu does poorly at the box office, which we'll talk about, there will be a lot of joy in the general Star Wars community for Star Wars is back on the big screen. Even if the movie is panned, there's going to be at least 8 joyful moments of Grogu doing something cute and weird. So I think that, that feeling of childlike joy, wonder, community from literally physically going to see things in the physical world. I I love the Disney Plus live shows, and we'll talk about all the stuff that's coming there that we're really excited about. But because the sort of the marketing machinery doesn't get behind those shows in the same way, and certainly not in the time, they're less of a physical experience. We sit at home and we watch them on our computers. A movie is you physically go to the theater. There will be merch that is out and about. When you go to run an errand, you will see Mando and Grogu plastered across things. So part of what I'm really looking forward to, and why I say, community as well as joy, is just that feeling of Star Wars being back in the world in a big way and in a specific way. We're all excited to see this new thing. We all have opinions about this new thing. That real sense of community that I think we've been celebrating a lot with Force Awakens.
Yeah, you're right. I think that's part of the nostalgia we're all feeling. Not just unified, but just excitement of new and community and joy and experiencing it and being surrounded by Star Wars fans, which was kind of a new experience for me in 2015. Seems weird to say, but that's why I was so blown away by Star Wars Celebration Anaheim 2015. It was like, I've never felt so much collective Star Wars joy, and I want to stretch that out this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm excited at this point to is always to relive the sort of the childhood thrill of going to a film and coming out of the theater bouncing and excited and like, yeah, of course I want to feel like a kid again. But also it's been so long now. I was like, I also now want to feel like a 25-year-old. And I also, want to feel like a slightly younger middle-aged man again. Like Star Wars has expanded so much that it can make you feel childlike joy and remember the going to the theater and for at least people our age and running on your bike and pretending it's a speeder bike, but it's also the and getting my Toyota Yaris and go to a toy store and and more stories that are about middle-aged people as well. And I think the Ahsoka will be that. I think Maul is a middle-aged person having a difficult time.
Yeah, that could be it. You are. I want to go back. Yeah, I want to go back to not my childhood. I want to go back to 1999. So I'm going to rent a 1991 Plymouth Colt, two-door hatchback that would rattle when I'd hit 40 miles per hour, and go see Mandalorian and Grogu.
Oh man, if I can find a Ford Fairmont and however much
let's go back.
These costs, man, because that's what I drove to almost all the prequels. Wow. Yeah. So what are your hopes for the community of Star Wars fans? We are a part of the community having a show like this. We're lucky to get to hear lots of different perspectives from the community, but also I think that comes with it of when we check social media and see strong opinions either within the community or the general people having a strong opinion about Star Wars. What are your hopes for the Star Wars community?
I mean, it's hard not to get a little cynical, right? But I'm going to push past that, and maybe I could be a part of the wave that does push past that, and meaning I'm going to work to be a little less defensive, a little bit more not honest, but a little bit more all right, hey, that moment didn't work, but I don't need to defend it in a bar anymore. I need to just celebrate things in the way I want to and be part of that. I think nothing's going to change for ForceCenter, but I think it's important to be maintain our position in the center of just let's engage with this thing. I was thinking about this over the weekend, again, talking only to my Chihuahua. It's pretty much the only creature I see these days, of 10, 11 years on with ForceCenter, we do review, we do dive in, but I still think this is about a podcast about the experience of being a Star Wars fan, about the poignancy and the profound and the silly and all those things that we've turned into catchphrases to describe our show. But that's what I still love doing. That's why we're still here, and maybe even doubling down more on that in 2026 for the community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot. I saw another thread of it's on Blue Sky, which it was generally a little bit more gentle, but this one wasn't. Where somebody was appreciating a couple of the scene. Somebody was rewatching the 2009 Star Trek and was like, this is really pretty good, and maybe it's time to let J.J. Abrams out of cultural director's prison. And there's one person who agreed with him, and almost everything else was like, no, and just a lot of anger about Rise of Skywalker. And there's this kind of moment for me of just I have to accept that I see and experience that film in a way that other people don't, and certainly plenty of people
Yeah.
do like it. We're lucky to be able to talk to them through ForceCenter. But man, a lot of people just hate this movie, and they always will. And I think for me, it was that one of those moments where I was like, it didn't really make me mad. It sort of just made me sad about the way that people choose to express their opinion. That like
Hmm.
J.J. Abrams like killed a family member because they
Hmm.
dislike the film so much. I don't like that way of
Hmm.
talking about it. But it was a reminder looking forward to Mando and Grogu that there is something about Star Wars, I think, because it is so huge, it is so culturally powerful that it has this pinata feel to it where people feel like you can say any mean thing about Star Wars or anybody attached to it because it's so big, it's so powerful. How does the thing I say online hurt them? And I think Star Wars, especially like a big in theater release, it's just always going to become a little bit of sport to say a mean
Hmm.
thing about it. So
Hmm.
no, if Mando and Grogu it gets released first at Cannes and wins the Palme d'Or, people are still going to beat up on it. No matter what,
Yeah.
people are going to beat up on it. Um,
Yeah.
so I am excited to work on myself
Yeah.
to just let that go, and I'm also excited for okay, we get the thrill of Star Wars back in the big screen, but then I feel like certainly Maul Shadow Lord because it's animated, and Ahsoka because I think it is kind of deeper cut Star Wars at this point.
Hmm.
I feel like Ahsoka and Maul Shadow Lord, for the most part, people are going to watch them if they want to. And I think
Hmm.
those will be places for the sort of more all in Star Wars community to have a break from the let's throw a
Hmm.
rock at Star Wars because how could it
Yeah.
possibly hurt it?
I agree with that. No, I agree with that. Kind of like how Bad Batch is kind of a warm,
Yeah.
gooey center of Star Wars love for a lot of us.
Yeah, and I think Maul Shadow Lord will be like that, and I
Yeah.
think Ahsoka will as well.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing I would say for hopeful for Star Wars community is we're going to be continue to be in difficult times and also hopeful times. I think, in my
Hmm.
opinion, with the
Hmm.
midterm elections coming up and with more and more things coming out about our current regime that is in charge in America. Um, there are moments of hope and inspiration, and I feel like that is one of the places where Star Wars stands out. Of it is
Hmm.
a tale about fighting fascism,
Hmm.
and when fascism is dealt a blow in America, then feeds are flooded with images of Return of the Jedi and Rise of Skywalker and Palpatine falling. So all that is to say, I hope that the new stories that we get in 2026 contribute to giving people hope and inspiration to engage in a positive way in the real world to remember that it is a responsibility and a need to push back against fascism and that hope
Hmm.
is needed to hang on to because people can get so cynical
Yeah.
that hope is what keeps you going in difficult times and better times are possible. I
Hmm.
think is a big lesson of Star Wars. So I hope that these new stories help people when they need those things.
Big agree on that and well said. Yeah. I am, as I head into the new year myself, like, I'm like, no, I'm not going to be cynical about New Year's resolutions or getting back in shape, all this stuff. Like, I don't want people to have a negative reaction to that stuff. Like, let's take the energy of a new time and let's take the
Hmm.
energy of a new era. Let's move it forward. I'm in that frame of mind anyway. So Mandalorian and Grogu will help that.
I hope so too. So let's talk about the big releases. The biggest being Mandalorian and Grogu on May 22nd. What are your hopes for the film, for the big return to the big screen? What do you find yourself like thinking about when you think about Mando and Grogu?
I think about how little we know about it. And that's not just about marketing. And there's been a lot of conversations on and off air about, hey, should they ramp up the marketing? Have they done enough? Is it here? It's showing the trailers showing before this film. Will the Super Bowl be the spot? That's all the kind of the business stuff. And I do agree that I want the marketing to ramp up. But I just keep thinking about, I don't really know a lot about this film. And I have an idea. And I think it's going to be fun, whiz bang, Mandalorian adventure. And I think it's going to be cute. And I think it's going to be silly. But I'm excited to, I'm excited to learn all this because it reminds me of stuff I've even talked about in the past. Um, when like you'd hear, the production on Rogue One is wrapped and reshoot jokes, blah blah blah. and I just would get all excited, or knew, the season 1 of blankety blank show is shooting Mandalorian, and you're like, there is new Star Wars that I've yet to discover, and it's out there and it exists and it's real, and I love this so much because we get to learn something new on this storyline that unfolds in front of us or rolls back as we go into other eras, and I think that's what I'm most excited and looking forward to the film of. I get answers and I don't even know the questions yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so excited for the actual story because we don't know as much, and the trailer that has been released is a fun spectacle, fun cute Grogu moments, but it is keeping its secrets in a way that I love because it doesn't happen as much with big releases. I have a weird relationship with Jon Favreau as a filmmaker in this very weird specific way of I think about Jon Favreau as a filmmaker almost every day because I go for a walk and one of the places that I pass is the apartment building of his character in Swingers, which is near where I live. And the other day, my wife and I went for a walk, and something must have been filming that had wrapped because there were the orange safety cones, but they had the word cinema on them. And they were right in front of the Swingers building. And it was just like Jon Favreau equals cinema. Anyway, point being, it's just one of those, like, the two most famous places near me are a building from Swingers and a house from Chinatown. So I go on a cinematic journey every time I take a walk.
Two Swingers. It's not Cafe 101 anymore, but you've got.
Oh yeah, you
got the whole
Clark Street Diner. Yeah, the other way.
He grows up scene is there. Oh my gosh, I didn't thought about that. You are surrounded by Favreau.
I'm surrounded by Favreau, and I do the point being in relation to Mando and Grogu. I think people forget like how much of his roots are cinema, film, and I think that he knows the assignment of this is a big screen Star Wars and it's got to be big. So I'm very excited for just about it as a cinematic story from a really good filmmaker. And then in terms of that sort of mystery of what is the story, the only thing that he tipped his hand on in a recent interview is that, hey, Din is trying to show Grogu how to be an honorable Mandalorian. And he has committed to only taking jobs from the New Republic. And I think I'm hopeful that it's a story about Din really, really deeply realizing and internalizing he can't sit on the sidelines. That isn't honorable. So I'm hoping for a story that is about Din's commitment to fighting fascism. And I hope that Grogu faces the trauma hammer, as we've named, that I hope it is a story that also continues Grogu needing to deal with his past, because I think those are just like two really, it's where the characters were left off. And I think it's simple, deceptively simple, but emotionally deep stories that I could use right now of remember to stay in the fight, remember to face your trauma and find a way forward from it, rather than hiding from it. And I think it's those kind of deceptively simple but deep storylines that Star Wars is at its most powerful.
Love it. I love the idea of Din kind of going, I can't be a both sides suck podcaster anymore. Like,
yeah, not my problem. Give me money and I'll do whatever. And he's already drifted quite a bit away from that up to making this commitment, because he realized what this commitment means for him. I really have to choose a side.
Yeah, and while retaining a lot of what makes him or what he wants to accomplish, but just the focus being different, and finding the right way for him to join the fight or resist or be part of something better. I think that's going to be fun to explore if it's fun.
Yeah. How do you feel about the physical journey of you going to the film? Is it going to be like years past, where you'll see it multiple times the first weekend? Do you have your favorite film theater picked out where you're going to see it?
Not anymore, man, because the theater landscape changed in LA, as too well. I'd love to have the Cinerama Dome, but with ArcLight, the brand gone, like I have no brand loyalty. I'm not a giant AMC fan, and I'm surrounded by them here in Burbank. It's not a bad experience, but like, quite frankly, I'll need to save up money now to go experience the theaters, and that's a bigger conversation about the industry. But no, I'll find it. And someone asked me the other day, "What's the last movie you saw in the theater?" And I was like, "Barbie." I don't know. There's got to be maybe one more. I can't remember. Oh no, you don't. Superman and Fantastic Four. There you go. I do have my answer now. I can change it. But no, I'm excited to make the trek. I'm excited to get out there in an opening weekend and get a little nervous, wondering who I'm going to be around. Who's surrounding me? Star Wars fans or casuals? Are we going to have some rude people? What are we going to do? Which is all the anxieties I usually carry into a movie theater. But I'm looking forward to that. And we as always will try to see if we can get some early access with press so we can help our reviews and everything. The landscape of that has changed.
Yeah.
We're not influencers anymore. We don't swing lightsabers on Instagrams, and those are the people getting invited to these things now. So I'm less worried about that, and I'm more worried about just the experience that weekend.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just like there's such strong memories of those all those first Disney era films, Force Awakens through Rise of Skywalker, and what that experience was like. And yeah, for me, it was changed massively. ArcLight is the theater physically closest to me. Great theater that did a really good job, policing audiences. So you had people behaving well for the most part. And then there's the famous Cinerama Dome attached to it. That's where I saw all of them. But we're really lucky in Los Angeles. AMC has 8,000 Burbanks, but AMC is just kind of, they aren't hiring enough people to just monitor the situation, to change bulbs and get, kick out people who are talking and all that kind of thing. Yeah. But, lucky to be able to walk to Grauman's, which is where I'll probably see it, where like the famous, hey, Star Wars is actually doing real well opening weekend. All those photos are for Grauman's.
Let's walk together. That might be my spot. Or El Cap.
Grauman's? Yeah, and El Capitan right across the street, which will have a weird pre-show, maybe a Grogu puppet. We're really, really lucky in Los Angeles to have theaters that remind you that the theater going experience can be really positive, can be really special, can feel like an event, and not just like, this is a larger version of my living room, except for there are rude people here, which I understand is what a lot of people are experiencing and is one of the things that's hurting the theatrical experience. And I really hope that a place like AMC steps up, like give us a weird bucket, hire, some teens need some jobs, hire some teens to, make sure the bulbs are changed and kick out people on phones. Come on. That's what I'm really hoping for.
Side cover. We'll launch a movie center podcast, but like one of the reasons ArcLight was a great experience was exactly what you're talking about. Not just in terms of policing or kicking people out, but which was part of it. But just like you went there and everyone was on board to experience a movie. Like you felt that from the staff to the customers, and that's what's different about other theaters.
Yeah, and it was really like a temple to movie going. It was more like people were self-policing. They wanted to be.
Yes.
I loved all the introductions from the ArcLight people in their little ArcLight shirts, and you could tell which one of them those employees were frustrated stand-up comedians because they'd try to get some jokes in. But the whole point of it is like it's an experience, right? It's community, and I hope that for everybody. We're also lucky to have the Alamo Draft House, which I don't know if that's like the most thrilling place to see the community, but the Star Wars community, but it's a fantastic theater, incredibly well run, incredibly fun, and it feels like an event as well. So
and sorry for making this an LA centric episode. Talk about Cafe 101. I might as well talk about the Brown Derby. Let's go to Dan Tannis for some Italian food.
Dan Tannis is so good. Anyway, but I encourage people to seek out whatever screening will make it feel like an event and make it feel special, because that is part of what makes it worthwhile going to the movies. Do you have, now that we've talked about the heart of it, do you have a prediction for how it will do at the box office? This kind of stuff is already heating up with people sort of debating back and forth. Remember that Mando and Grogu on Disney Plus are actually very popular with the general public. So there's people who are really pushing hard on social media saying, hey, this isn't inside baseball. And other people going like, it's got Rada. Come on, it's inside baseball. How are you feeling about all that?
I'm feeling positive. I'm feeling hopeful, but I still think it's going to nestle in, I don't know, 500 million, 600 million. So something in that range that isn't the $1 billion December Force Awakens had to set records, right? And it's going to, and I have to be whatever the number ends up being, because I do think you're right. There's going to be a lot of Star Wars, and in terms of Rada, yeah, what's funny about like Rada the Hutt, that's inside baseball to those on the inside, but I think on the outside people be like, oh, a Jabba, great, they got a Jabba in it. Let's do it. Yeah. Let's go. And I think I'm less worried about that than others. But like, yeah, I'm setting myself up for this did really good, and it's still going to be viewed as a failure because we're holding it to standards. There's going to be those kind of frustrating conversations. I think there's going to be some of the business and some of the pundit world that obviously understand it. We'll see where their final numbers land. But I think it's going to be successful in that, it made $600 million.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I really trust Favreau and Filoni as a co-writer. She's like, yeah, Rada's there for us to enjoy, but there's not going to be any like, you need to have seen the Clone Wars animated film in order to get what's going on in the movie. And I think the same thing with Zeb of like, he's their weird alien pal. And you don't need to know like, well, he's a Lasat, and when Agent Callus's hair was like this, like, I don't think you're going to need that, but the general audience will, or the all-in audience will get to enjoy those things. So I trust on that.
Yeah.
I think the opening weekend is going to be really, really strong because I think there is going to be hunger for Star Wars from the all-in fans. And I think Mando and Grogu are popular enough. And I think a early summer with is late May, I think it has real potential to be a water cooler of like, people want to know about this. They want to be in on the conversation about what happened and all that kind of thing. I think it might have a second weekend or a third weekend drop because that's entirely normal for big budget genre films these days. My biggest question is, will the entertainment press cover it in the context of modern times? Like, the phenomenon has now been seen of like MCU movies still, for the most part, with a few exceptions, do well. They don't do as well as they used to. They have monster opening weekends because the all-in fans come. And then because the general audience has been trained that it's going to be on streaming in 5 minutes, the second and the third weekend fall off. Yeah. And that is a reality created by the business, not necessarily by the quality of the film. And I think every entertainment, reporter knows that. And are they going to cover Mando and Grogu in that context of, we expect Mando and Grogu to do around what Fantastic Four did. And if it doesn't, then it's kind of a failure. Or are we going to get people expecting it to do Rogue One numbers in an entirely different context and in an entirely different time?
Yeah. And I that'll be a point of frustration, I'm sure, but we'll be the ones being in the discussing it I don't want to say right way, but the true view on it, of where we're at. Because again, not to break it down to a theater movie business conversation, but like it just makes sense. Even if you go the Friday night, the opening weekend, oh my God, I love Mandalorian and Grogu. Did you love it too? Great. Did you enjoy your $200 popcorn bucket? Awesome. Mom and Dad got drinks, $72 for 2 whiskeys. Great. We're not going again. It's going to be on Disney Plus in 6 days. Whether or not that's true, whether it's 2 months or whatever. It's going to be on fast. So like, that's just where we're at. And there's a lot of other factors too, but I hope the discussion is honest.
Yeah. I hope the discussion is honest too. And and it is good to remember like, the story is what matters, because when you watch a great film, maybe you buy a Criterion disc of a film from 1962. Do you know whether it was a hit or not?
Yeah.
The continued existence of the art is what matters the most. The box office affects immediately what might happen in the future with the franchise. So I'm invested in it doing well for the health of Star Wars. But they have to remember that the art comes first. All right. Moving on from Mando and Grogu, we are heading toward Ahsoka season 2. They have announced that it is in 2026, but they have not announced an exact date. You and I were both mixed on the first season. What are your hopes for the second season?
Answers. And I don't mean that in an angry way. I'm just like, you've done a great job setting up a lot of mysteries and a lot of questions and a lot of what's going to happen there. That's one of the big successes of season 1 for me. But let's maybe get those answers. and I would like Rory McCann as Baylan Skoll to be like, this is what I want to do. And no longer just stare up. And though Ray Stevenson, rest in peace, stared off into the clouds was some of my favorite things of Ahsoka season 1. Phenomenal performance. But like, you know what I mean? I want there to be satisfying answers, not necessarily conclusions, because we'll see if the story goes on. I don't think in another season, but in that film that's still hanging over the slate. But yeah, so I say this with great hope. You pulled me in, Dave. You asked some questions, and I'm like, let's get to it. And I hope we get to it.
I agree. I like all of these characters, and I want to know what happens next from the characters that we have a previous relationship, Hera and Ezra and Ahsoka and Sabine on this new journey, to the new characters of Baylan and Shin and this sort of a weird adventure they have set up in Prydia. I'm really hungry to know what happens next to these characters. But in terms of specific things, I agree with you. In terms of answers, clarity of Baylan's philosophy and goals, I think is great. I do want to understand by the middle of the season, I would like to understand like the stakes. What is it he's trying to do? But even more, the philosophy behind it, they started to explore in the first season, and I think really tied it to Ahsoka's journey with accepting Anakin's fall and what's her responsibility in that. And I think they attached it very well to, if I am the continuation of the Jedi, if I am the continuation of this legacy, what right do I have to train Sabine? Because I'm just going to pass on all of this horror show to her. I think all that stuff was laid out well. But to me, it almost felt like, in many ways, like the toys were laid out. Now I want to see second season, like take all those ideas, pick them up and play with them. And, who changes and why and how and what, the next time that Ahsoka and Baylan cross blades, what is philosophically at stake in their fight, or emotionally for them as characters? I can see a big arc being, can Baylan be turned from this path that he is on, and what would change that? So I'm very excited for that. I'm very excited for more Ezra, because he was so charming, and I love his forward energy, but I also think like he might have a hard time readjusting and might have some trauma, and he might still be like, woohoo, I'm happy to be home, let's go. But also, I've got some trauma to work through. I was alone with turtle people for years, wondering if anyone would ever come for me. And Night Sister weirdness, the sort of confirmation that Night Sisters will be involved, because we heard that they were cast and the one actor wasn't able to do the role again with the rate that Disney offered her. But that, to me, confirmed Night Sisters, and they brought all of those boxes back, which I think are full of undead Night Sisters. I am this show could be called Undead Night Sisters, and I would be excited. I'm excited for the promise of weird, trippy Force stuff as they get toward Mortis. I'm excited for confirmation that Hayden is doing something, and all the different ways that we might continue the journey with Anakin. So there's a ton that I'm excited about. One specific thing that I want to ask you about, because I feel like it in some ways should be the absolute beating heart of the entire thing, and I don't think we've talked about it, is what is Ahsoka's challenge? This is, I think, an ensemble show where Ahsoka's the lead and Ahsoka is the title, but it's an ensemble show. But it's called Ahsoka. So at the end of the day, the show does have to sort of begin and end and find its biggest conflict in the middle based on what is going on in Ahsoka's heart and soul. So what do you want her challenge to be? Or what do you have any guesses?
That's a great question, because I think in a character that is the title character, I think of her the least, which is, Ahsoka's always one of my favorite characters. Nothing about the performance, just there's other characters. Like I randomly this weekend, I was like, man, I hope Shin Hati actually talks. I hope she actually. Ivana Sakno's great. Born in Kyiv like my grandmother, and I want to know what's going on in her mind, and I think we'll get that answer. But in terms of Ahsoka, I mean, she and Sabine are out here in the other planet. Why am I always forgetting the planet?
Prydia.
Prydia. Thank you. and there's some answers that are out there. Is she tied into the Balin Skull thing? Will she be the daughter? Will she bring battle? All those kind of big world between world Mortis like kind of Dave fever dreams that might show up in the show. But will she? For me, it's like, is there some sort of self forgiveness and peace to be found? She's been on a long, arduous journey from walking away at the end of Clone Wars to being part of the fight secretly, and then just the break with Sabine. All these things. This is a heavy. There's a heavy soul on Ahsoka, right? And that's how I think Rosario played the character. And we commented, everyone in the community commented on, it's not Snips. Well, of course it's not. Why would it be? So if can that, and I think you took big steps to relieving the heaviness on that soul towards the end, and Anakin and all that stuff. But I want her to find that peace, whatever the final steps are for her. And with Dave, I don't ever trust that they are the final steps with Ahsoka, and nor should we. He has the right to take that character as far as he wants. But I want peace for Ahsoka.
Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting challenge. Obviously, she's going to be challenged by being a teacher because she's accepted that role, that she needs to be close to her Padawan, and that she needs to be there for her and support her unconditionally, sort of the way Anakin supported Ahsoka. So I think she'll still have some how do I do this right? I'm making some missteps, but if she allows herself to feel more joy and enjoy life and enjoy being partners with Sabine, where that it would be interesting if she found more joy and more happiness to be present and alive, and then is staring down the barrel of sacrifice of. If she understands, there is something going on with Mortis, there is something I'm called to. I won't always be here in this way. I'd be fascinated if it was more of an acceptance of her own role, her own mortality, and sacrifice is the path of the Jedi. But it's not always easy. I'm sure plenty of Jedi have wrestled with I know I'm supposed to sacrifice myself, but I kind of like this existence, and I don't really want to leave it. I would love to see some emotionally complex stuff with that.
Yeah, agree with that.
Yeah. Last thing that I want, and I know this is definitely a thing that there's plenty of different points of view on, but I do think the Disney Plus shows have sometimes struggled with pacing across episodes and cliffhangers, which is to say that each episode does feel like its own meal while also being a continuing story and having a break point that is dictated creatively, not dictated by budget wise, we needed to get a episode out this week and we needed to break it into somewhere, which is some of the Acolyte writers ended up actually speaking about that on social media of it's a money thing. We needed to break this story somewhere. And I think I do feel that in the cliffhangers, and it frustrates me. So I'm really hoping for each episode feels like its own meal while being part of a continuing story, and has really good cliffhangers that lean forward and make you go, ooh, I can't wait for next week, instead of I feel like I know what's going to happen in the next 10 minutes of the first episode, and they just stopped early.
Yeah, they just had to stop here. Yep, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. So any other big picture thoughts on Ahsoka itself?
No, other than I am absolutely looking forward to season 2, and I have been vocal about my, like you said, mixed feelings on season 1, which had a lot of just production kind of issues. Some of the writing, a lot of the directing, even some of the performances were just some of my least favorite in Star Wars. That's me just being honest with it. But I also want to be clear, I'm going to be sitting down, not just because we have to on ForceCenter. I'm really intrigued by season 2, so I'm excited.
Yeah. Me too. I think some of the things that I was grumpy about were pacing issues, because I like the characters so much, and I felt that I was spending too long with them, having similar conversations and staring off into space, and just I love them, and I want to know what's bothering them, and I want to watch them deal with it. And I feel like the second half of the show got to that, and I feel like the second season is so poised to really let us into the hearts and minds of these characters that I like so much.
Indeed. And to cut off any comments in the before they get to pacing is tied to what Joseph just said about similar scenes, repeated scenes that don't move the story forward. It's not the speed Sometimes with
Mhm.
those comments of like, hey, audiences just don't like to slow down. No. I love slowing down. I love Robert Baratheon and Cersei Lannister having a 20-minute conversation about their marriage because it moved the story forward. We didn't have a repeat of that conversation. So that was some of the criticism we had to see.
Some of my favorite scenes in Book of Boba Fett is when he is sadly, slowly riding a bantha, because I know what he's thinking and feeling, and I'm seeing him in that environment and soaking in. So yeah, and it's entirely subjective. We have so many
Yeah.
listeners who Ahsoka is their favorite thing. So it's one of the great reminders for me of everything is subjective. This is the way I feel. Other people don't feel that way, and that is just fine.
Yeah.
Moving on then to other Disney Plus live action shows. I don't think there will be any in 2026, but I think there might be an announcement, as I do think Disney Plus has to keep putting out live action Star Wars. And I think they might want something for 2027, the 50th anniversary of, the franchise, certainly of Star Wars, the film, but also of the public's relationship with the franchise. So any hopes for a Disney Plus live action announcements?
I hope is that there is one, and they're always taking pitches and ideas in development, and the hunt for Ben Solo reminded all of us of like, oh, there's always things cooking, whether you hear it or not. And you and I and Jennifer aren't as plugged into the rumor mill as perhaps we used to be, but I have some connections, and occasionally over the last year, I've poked the connections of this specific question. Anything on the live action front, and no answers have come back, which doesn't mean there isn't anything. And they're like you said there, like you kind of have to have something unless you're going to change Disney Plus dramatically. I mean, it's already Disney, Hulu, National Geographic, soon to be who knows what, with all these mergers and everything. And eventually we'll all just be back to cable, hopefully. But, it's not going away. I don't think Disney Plus is going away. And that can't just be the place that you dump movies 2 weeks after they were in theaters. And I also agree that maybe you can't do 19 Marvel shows and 5 Star Wars shows and all those kind of things and different business conversation. I understand finding the middle, but I still think you need to have people subscribe to the service based on something they love. And a live action Star Wars TV show would be part of that. So my hope is that there is one. In terms of what kind. Right now I'm leaning, I think, we got the Maul, we got Ahsoka, kind of fun, kind of lore heavy, whiz bang Star Wars fun with some mysticism, all that stuff. I hope some higher ups in Disney, it would have to be the higher ups in Disney, not Lucasfilm, who get a little bit addicted to the ego of winning or being nominated for awards as a studio. And that with Andor, a show we love, I would love a 6-episode prestige show. Let's have some cigar chompers be like, what else can we do? And I don't say Gilroy comes back or anything like that, or it's an offshoot. Just like, let's do that. That seemed to shake some fans loose and coming back to Star Wars. And I'm not even going to worry about whether they think the other Star Wars is embarrassing or anything like that. I'm interested in that. Give me a 6-episode, 1-season prestige show.
Oh man, I love that. This is not going to happen in any way, shape, or form. But I want the Kenobi, limited event. Not even season 2. I would even take a made for streaming movie, even a 2-part one that is a deep auteur Kenobi meditating to become one with the Force. He doesn't need to fight Maul. Vader doesn't need to be in it for me. I want like absolute auteur. Let's explore Kenobi's soul. Physically, he's only ever in a cave levitating. But we go inside his soul as he discovers how to become one with the Force. I'm joking a little bit, but I do think that, Ewan has expressed interest. I know there are rumors about him appearing in Ahsoka season 2, and who knows about that. But I think there is a ticking clock. He can only do it for so long. I do think like not everything has to be announced as like, this is the first season. Will there be a second season? I would love to see them experiment with a made for streaming movie. There are some beloved things that were made for television movies back in the day. The original version of adaptation of It was a television movie. Salem's Lot, a beloved horror thing, was a television movie. I think if they don't want to commit to like, here's a season, are we going to renew it?
Yeah, agreed.
Make a 2-part 2-hour event. The one that I think is maybe a possibility I don't know what his calendar is like, but some sort of Mike Flanagan related horror thing, since I
Mm,
think that is something that
wants
he
to.
has expressed interest in. And it would be
Right.
the right thing to be like, this is going to make a splash because it is different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree.
All right, moving on from the live action to the animated, a thing that I know we are both very excited for.
Mm-hmm.
The exact date is not announced, but 2026 is the release of the new animated series, Maul Shadow Lord. So, Ken, why are you excited for Maul Shadow Lord?
I'm very excited. Why I'm excited, as I'm talking, I'm looking up IMDb to see, is there anyone, do we know who is truly behind it? Got Athena Portillo as the producer, Sam Witwer's Maul, Matt
I believe
Mich-
Matt Michnovitz
Michinovitz
is,
writing. Yeah, okay.
yeah,
Hmm.
who is just all over Clone Wars in
Right.
particular, and in
Yeah,
particular, Bad Batch. I mean, credited, I
yep.
think, on most episodes of Bad Batch.
Like story editor, right? Or story, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry, I want to clarify just because I'm super excited for this show. I'm super
Mhm.
excited because of what was delivered with Bad Batch. Obviously, Clone Wars and Clone Wars season 7, which is part of this new modern era over the last 5-10 years, and Rebels, right? But I think this is going to be more in line with the Bad Batch, a great show with a warm, gooey, lovable Star Wars center that I still think hits harder. And sometimes I say this to get a rise out of people at a bar, but I still think Bad Batch at times hits harder than Andor in some episodes. Andor hits very hard in other episodes. Isn't a contrast to compare, but like don't overlook this for what that show did. And I think you have an opportunity to explore that, not necessarily even just with straight up politics, which I think is what I'm referring to with a lot of the Bad Batch stuff, but just what's going on with this evil, damaged, dark side dwelling character. You have a fertile ground to explore, not just what makes him tick and we have sympathy for him. Oh, poor Maul. We might have some of those moments, but just like you get to really explore stuff and do it in a beautiful way. With how many times did we joke during Bad Batch? So beautiful. We should stop saying it, but no, it's so beautiful. You're gonna, the visuals are gonna be part of the fun too. I'm looking forward to the show. And it'll be a victory for animation, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we talk a lot about Star Wars, being this mold of the old and the new, and that is, philosophically, that's about how it talks about nostalgia, but it is also about kind of how it evolves and the fact that
Mm,
the look of this and the characters in the era feel like this is all in line with kind of the forward march of the storytelling that started in animation with Clone Wars and is
mm,
marching forward with that era in characters from that era dealing with this new era of the Empire that Bad Batch was so concerned about, and picking up a Clone Wars character in Maul, but also so much new with the animation style being a little bit nastier and grungier,
yeah.
and a villain is the main character is this great mix of old and new. So I'm very excited for that. I'm just excited for the log line of what what this show is
Mm,
a lonely man almost learns his lesson but doesn't. Like
yeah.
to
Yeah.
me, at the end of the day, that's what's intriguing about Maul is we like him because he's cool and badass, and as he's been developed in animated, witty and snarky, and just kind of like
Hmm.
writing. I bet he has a really nasty letterboxed account where he just writes mean, nasty, pithy little things, and this beating heart of I have been rejected by everything, and
Hmm.
all I know is anger, and all I know is the quest of power. But what I really want is just to not be alone, to feel accepted and valued. But I can't break through to seeing that and accepting that.
Hmm.
To see how are we going to dig into the depth of that with this, apprentice character that from the little bit we've seen maybe looks like a little Darth Talon like in design. Okay,
Hmm.
we'll figure
Hmm.
out what that's about.
Hmm.
But just that heart of I think painfully relatable for a lot of us of really powerful, really talented, but
Hmm.
loses all the time, is rejected all the time, and trying to find this little niche where he can be accepted, and then deals with it with snark and anger when he
Hmm.
can't. It's not a healthy thing to do, but
Yeah.
it's a cathartic thing to watch.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. He's the perfect
Yeah.
foil for it.
Yeah. Other things that I'm excited about is the fact that it is in that Bad Batch era, and the
Hmm.
animated shows have been pretty adamant about like we tell the stories that we're going to tell, and sometimes that means we have episodes that don't star the main character. So even though it is Maul Shadow Lord, we could have episodes that are Asajj,
Hmm.
that are um, who knows? We could get early depressed Kenobi on Tatooine,
Yeah.
not necessarily facing Maul, but
Yeah.
we could get Bad Batch cameo. There's
Yeah.
a lot of characters floating around in this era that we could end up spending time with. Are you excited for that? Are you concerned about that? How do you feel?
No, I'm excited for that. You have the designs of Dryden Voss, right, already in your animation Rolodex. Bring that out. Akira hangs over any Maul story going forward. I know the eras might not link up and blah 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 the timeline, but like, yeah, I absolutely agree with you. We have him, we have this apprentice, but you're going to have a bit of an all-star roster, I think, and it'll spark the cameo debate again, maybe. But that cameo debate be damned. I'm excited for faces that we know showing up.
Yeah. And I still think I didn't read it. I saw a clickbaity headline about it, but we've been talking about it for a while. This is the show and the era where Maul versus Vader makes sense, and the part of the fun of the dark side characters are they're really cool. And ever since Maul appeared and died immediately in Phantom Menace, people had their headcanon about who would win and what kind of fight would be. And it's amazing to me that now with the really high quality storytelling about the soul of Maul and more development of Vader in this time period, that it's not that long after, Vader's got himself back on the feet and is again and again having to prove himself to Palpatine, and Maul being mad that he was rejected. The emotional thought of these two damaged children of the really mean dad Palpatine
Yeah.
being forced to face one another. I mean, Palpatine can just be bored on a Tuesday and go, did I pick the right guy? Did I pick the right guy? I'm going to go send Vader to smack down Maul and see if I'm right about my decision on the chosen one here,
Especially if
and it
Maul's
makes it so
running a
emotional.
good business. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and there's that just like, how is he, when does he make his deal with Palpatine that I can have my little crime empire and you'll let me do it? Yeah.
Yeah.
How are you feeling these days about a Maul versus Vader? Is that exciting to you? Does it feel like
It's
fan fiction, or does it feel emotionally relevant? Like I think it does.
I think it would be emotionally relevant. It's not high on my list of expectations. It's not something I've ruminated on, but I actually think this is how much I trust what they do. Is if it happens, it will have a lot of punch to it. Going back to Rebels and going, hey, this is going to end with Kenobi and Maul. In 2014, I might have been like, cool, maybe. Why here? And then that becomes this epic, iconic episode that we still talk about to this day. I think that's with Bad Batch. Hey, so and so is going to be here, and it's even Cutler Quain is used with such purpose and clarity. So yeah, if that happens, I'd be excited. I totally would be excited, and I love what you're talking about. I'm just like, could Vader and Maul end up like on a log together? Like, does he say this to you? Did he say this to you back in the day? Yeah, he did. Yeah.
That's how Maul would fight him, right? That's how Maul would try to get under his skin of like, I've known about you since you were a kid.
Yeah.
Played like a fiddle. You think you chose this? Yeah. He played you like a fiddle since you were. I remember you. I remember when you had to dive out of my way. I almost took your head off with a speeder.
I
you were
almost
running
killed
across
you.
the sand, missing your mommy.
And I wasn't even sure who you were. I didn't care. I was just a good
I
kid.
didn't even care at the time, but now I was like, I should have taken your head off. Yeah, fascinating. And in a show that does feature a villain as the lead, there I think we're going to need moments where we are reattached to empathizing with him and feeling sorry for him, and having his ass handed to him by Vader, I think would be a good way to get the audience back on his side.
I like that. Yeah.
How do you feel about a villain leading a show?
I feel really good. I'm glad you asked this question, because I think in years past I would have been a little more dubious, a little more like, I don't know. And that is because I just think this is a general sweeping statement, but a lot of times fandoms across the board, I just think misunderstand that they're villains in these stories. And though we love the nuance, we love the shades of gray, and and that stuff gets thrown out in terms of praising Game of Thrones characters or even Star Wars characters or whatever it may be, or even I love the Superman picture, James Gunn Superman, but we had friends that we know, like, Lex Luthor just didn't have a lot of depth to him as a villain. I'm like, I don't think you need to. He kind of made it clear what he was. He did kind of explain what's going on, but okay, we're used to that. So I think I'm a little, in the past I've been trepidatious because I think it can be misused from the fandoms. I just had someone, old friend of mine, old coworker, write me just like, hey, checking in on you. Hey, I want you to know I started listening to some Star Wars audiobooks. I'm starting with the Darth Bane series and I'm going to go to Darth Plagueis. And I'm excited for them to have that journey. Love the Plagueis novel. Still one of my favorites. But I'm always like, but why are you starting with the evil dudes? Like, what are you trying to get out of this? But that's their journey to go on. So going with this team and what they did with Bad Batch and what they did with Maul and Clone Wars and Rebels, like, I do think it will be fun, number one. I think I want to get his perspective. I don't think we're going to have so much sympathy that we forgive him, and I don't think that's the point of it. And the comments that Whitwer has said, I can't remember all the details of it, but it kind of gave me confidence that that's kind of what's going on. I think we'll have great value, and I want that to connect to some folks. I want someone driving in a Cybertruck by themselves to a CrossFit gym to pull over and go, I've made a huge mistake, and I learned that from watching Maul Shadow Lord. Like, I think you could have... It could be very powerful. Will be very powerful.
I trust this team, yes, to find the heart in it, and I trust that this is a chunk of a story, but the ultimate story is a tragedy. It is Maul is a character who can't give up the anger. It's the only thing he lives for, and he just repeats himself until he repeats himself into an early grave with Kenobi, and we know that that's the end of the story. I feel like. I trust this team to find the heart in having us watch this chunk of a long tragedy with a lonely, snarky murderer. And if, well, I think they've said obviously that it's going to be about his relationship with a new character. We're all excited for Maul Shadow Lord. We haven't met, this new character that might become one of our favorite characters. Like we're in 2008 when we've heard Ahsoka is coming, but don't really know the character yet. And think I'll watch Clone Wars for Anakin and Obi-Wan. Like,
yeah,
you're watching Clone Wars to be introduced to Ahsoka as well.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to see who this character is. And I think if it is a story where the character is offering again and again to give Maul some real connection, some real humanity, and he doesn't take it, this might really be a show that's Maul is the title, but the show is about this other person and about this other person ultimately maybe making a better choice than Maul is able to.
I agree. Yeah. Prentice. Yeah. You're right about that. We don't know anything about this Prentice, and that could end up being the breakout character.
Yeah. I mean, we'll all be here in our, Darth Tammy or whatever her name is going to be.
Yep.
Merch in a year. Who knows?
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. There's also the Ninth Jedi Vision spinoff releasing in 2026. We talked about this a little bit in our recent coverage of Vision Season 3. What is exciting to you about this spinoff?
This is always used with a condescending tone to me by other people, but I mean it with all my heart. I'm really happy for the people excited for this. I'm going to watch this. And I get that. It makes me want to reach for a butter knife at a party when someone does that to me. Like, you like Book of Boba Fett? I'm very happy for you. I don't mean it that way. I do mean that every time I watch one of the Visions episodes, volumes 1, 2, or 3, I'm always like, that was spectacular. It's fun. I don't engage with it as others do. But I think what I like most about this is moving beyond a 10, 12, 15, maybe 20-minute episode at most in the Visions and taking the narrative and giving us a full, robust series. I think it's going to be exciting to watch what other creators do in this context of we're reflecting Star Wars back on Star Wars reflects back on us, and these influences and the pressure of it, the lack of pressure in terms of it not being canon. We can just do what we want. I think it's gonna be interesting to explore for a season.
Yeah, I'm glad you're happy for me because I'm very excited.
I'm happy
about the Ninth Jedi. We talked about this on our Visions reviews, but there is some episodes of Visions that I feel like this is a perfect little short film. The trippy one with the stormtrooper trying to escape the Death Star, that's surreal, beautiful. Right. Love that. That's a short film, and that's great. I can sit down and watch that short film. But so many of the Visions feel like this is kind of a world that's being built, and just as I'm getting into it,
Agreed.
I get kicked out of it, and then I forget about it, and then I need to remember it, and it's kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
I love Ninth Jedi, so I'm so excited to just stay in that story. And in particular with Ninth Jedi, there's something about Ninth Jedi where it is taking so many known things in Star Wars, so many trappings, but remixing them, particularly, I think, focusing on the fantasy aspect of Star Wars. There's something about Ninth Jedi that reminds me of being like a kid and going to in the Midwest to the B. Dalton's bookstore and
Mhm.
finding a new fantasy novel. And there's some weird guy with a glowing sword on it. And it's like, I recognize that. I recognize weird guy and glowing sword. But
Mhm.
other than that, I have no idea where this particular fantasy book is going.
Yeah.
And I have those kind of feelings about Ninth Jedi of like, okay, the sabersmith and the blades that change color based on who's holding it, and this mission that they're on, and just a real like page turner vibe of like
Mhm.
what happens next and how will the rules and the ideas of Star Wars get remixed with such a beating heart of fantasy in particular is what makes me really excited to spend time in this world. And just there's something really fresh and free about it of just like,
Mhm. Mhm.
I love the interconnected storytelling, but what I can't watch Maul without thinking about like, yeah, where is Vader? And that's really fun. It's really
Yeah.
fun to have this opposite end of the spectrum of like, I'm an open book, and whatever happens next episode, I just want to turn the page and see what happens next.
Yeah. No, and I'm excited for that too, and excited for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving on to video games. I'm excited for you about video games since I haven't had time to play them. Two big ones, Star Wars Zero Company, sort of a turn-based tactical thing, and Star Wars Galactic Racer, which was only announced recently. It's got some great racing. Do you see yourself making time on your video game dance card for one or both of these games?
Definitely Galactic Racer. I will explore Zero Company when it comes out, but turn-based stuff doesn't float my boat as much as the other stuff. But yeah, I'm excited for Galactic Racer. I just had a conversation at a bar, but it was a good one. I talk a lot about bad conversations, but I was with my friends Sully and Jill and Rain and Brandon Hanna and their friend Andrew. We were talking Star Wars at a tiki bar, and video games came up, and I like disappointed everybody there. I was like, yeah, I haven't. If I'm being honest, I haven't been thrilled with Star Wars video games since Battlefront 2. That includes even the Lego game that came out. It doesn't mean I didn't enjoy them. I enjoyed large parts of Outlaws. I think the Survivor and Jedi, Fallen Order games, I think are fun, and I'm happy for Alex Damon that he loves them so much. But I'm not good at some of the games, all those kind of things. Yeah, Squadrons. I forgot Squadrons was a thing. But I love gaming. It's how I relax. It's how I turn off my brain. So I'm absolutely excited for Star Wars Galactic Racer, even though that might be a little adrenalized and won't be as relaxing. So going to make some time, and we'll report back on all the video games here.
I am happy for people who like turn-based games. The characters in Zero Company looks great, but it's probably not where I'm at. I have been staying away from the video game console because it's a slippery slope for me, and I've had other things I want to prioritize. But Galactic Racer, that's the one I've been most excited about in a long time because the community is so excited about it, and it also feels like I bet you could just sit down and play for an hour and do 3 races and be like, okay. And now, and other video games, I get way too addicted. So I think Galactic Racer might be one that keeps the addiction at bay.
It's as much as I love to use it for relaxing. Sometimes on PlayStation 5, it's prominently featured the amount of hours you've played the game. I saw my hours played on Fortnite and Madden this weekend. I went, this might explain some things about where I am in life.
It is a challenge, as it always has been. Yes, I think the time that my wife made a nice dinner and I had to admit I'd made myself dizzy in Resident Evil 4 and had to go lay down instead of eating the nice meal she had made. And said, I gotta think about this. All right, moving on to Star Wars books and comics. There's a full credit to our friend Alex Damon's video looking at 2026. I've been collecting the Legacy of Vader Kylo Ren comic. I didn't realize that there's a lot of unknowns about the future of other comics, but there is a Jar Jar and Kelleran Beck one-shot comic coming out, co-written by Ahmed Best. A lot of else is not fully clear of the announcements. But for books, we have Eyes Like. I clearly wrote this down wrong. I wrote the title down as Eyes Like Star Wars. I don't think that's the actual title. I wrote it down wrong.
Eyes like
I'll
Star
look up
Wars.
the correct title later. Eyes Like Blank. But it's the first just straight up romance book. I think someone would argue Lost Stars is a romance book, but this is being advertised on the cover is a romance book. It's set before The Force Awakens with a romantic couple dealing with the First Order. There is Star Wars Legacy by Madeline Rue, which is a great sequel era concept. Leia and Rey training. They go to Tython to repair the Skywalker saber while they're hunted by the First Order. That's coming out in July. The continuation of the Reign of the Empire book trilogy, Reign of the Empire Edge of Abyss by Rebecca Roanhorse. That's coming out in the fall and is set more close to the beginning of the Andor television series. So Luthen hopes are high from people, and that's coming out in the fall, right around the midterms. Hey, politics. So I'm sure there's more stuff, but those are kind of the big ticket ones that jumped out to me. I think you and I have both been struggling to make as much Star Wars reading time as we'd like. What are you excited for? What are you going to make time for?
Honestly, all these, I know that the Maul prequel comic is coming out in the summer too, right? That's the other big one. I'm excited for all these, and I love the idea. That, I think we talked about when the news announced. I love the idea of a romance book set in Star Wars, and yes, Lost Stars evoked that, but that was billed as like this big young adult Star Wars, and it's just genres and sections in the writing world. But I'm excited for that. As I said before, old pals with Madeline Rue. I'm very excited to see what she does with these characters because she's loves Leia and Rey, and I've known her for about 10, 12 years, and just Leia was a character. I think she has some tats of Leia too. Like Carrie Fisher and Leia expired, so for her to get this chance, I know it's going to be done with the utmost respect and love, and I'm excited for that. All these, I'm excited for all of them, and I'm going to try to definitely make time for the Jar Jar, Keller and Beck one shot. We're big fans of Ahmed Best, big fans of those characters. We didn't even talk about. I've given up hopes that Keller and Beck will show up in the movie. I just want to lower my expectations, but I love this stuff there. So all of these, absolutely, whether I get to it or not, it has nothing to do with the material. I have stopped in the middle of the last 3 Star Wars books I've read. The Kira novel is still sitting next to my bed. The Living Force and the one that was the Inquisitor.
Rise of the Red Blades, I think.
Rise of the Red Blade. Enjoyed all of them. And I don't know if you experienced this, just I forgot that I was reading them. Just forgot. And just
I think for me it's just it's about the schedule. If I can stay on them, I stay in them. But if something interrupts me, it breaks my flow.
Totally. Really enjoyed the E.K. Johnson's Kira novel. There's something that Kira does that I was like, oh, this is great. That was like the last page I read. And so I've got to finish those. I want to give respect to those authors and finish those stories, but these are on my radar screen.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I also really wanted to read Master of Evil, the Vader novel that came out in the last couple months, is high on my list.
There you go.
But Star Wars Legacy, I will make time for sure. The relationship between Leia and Rey, the importance of Leia being a Jedi Master to Rey is one of the things I love about Rise of Skywalker, of really, elevating that character of Leia to make it clear that she is just as important as Luke, exploring that relationship and the challenges, and I think setting up where Rey is in Rise of Skywalker, where she feels like I just need to train until I'm perfect, and I'm not reticent to get involved because I just want to train. I think there's all really interesting stuff to set up, and I'm really excited to spend time with those characters in that era.
Indeed.
And I really enjoyed this first Reign of the Empire book, so I will definitely be wanting to check that one out as well. All right, so wrapping up. So this is a lot of Star Wars that we just talked about. We just spent the last chunk talking about whether we'll have time for all of the Star Wars. But even if you're just, hey, I'm a screen-only Star Wars person, you got a movie in theaters, a big live-action show, a big animated show, a smaller animated show with The Ninth Jedi. It's a lot of Star Wars. But are you okay with it if 2026 is maybe a little quieter in the build-up to 2027, the franchise's anniversary.
I absolutely am, and I think as we discussed, even you and I were remarking off air, like, oh, this 2026 is bigger than even I thought, right? Like, we got some big things coming, including the return to theaters after 6 years. So it'll be a big year, but no, without a doubt, I like a little bit of a calm before the storm. I think 2027 is going to be absolutely fun. The return of Celebration, Los Angeles, Starfighter, the anniversary New Hope. Who knows what flannel George is going to break out if he shows up on things. I'm really excited by that. So I like a little bit of endurance pacing. Let's get up to speed again. This year was quieter. Big stuff. I mean, we did a review, big things, but it's not 2019. We're not in that era. So this is, as I said, the start of a new era. Let's get there. Start slow in 2027. Really hit it hard.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things we didn't talk about, it's not Disney Lucasfilm putting it out, but the Lucasfilm Museum opening, for those of us lucky to be able to go there, that's a big thing that's happening as well. This is, I'm thrilled with this amount of Star Wars, especially on screen. And then in terms of just like the business of us covering it and being fans, 2026 is going to be lousy with announcements in the build-up to Starfighter and the re-release of the original cut of Star Wars. And who knows what else they're going to be announcing. So I think it'll feel like a very, very full year between the stuff that's actually coming out and all of the announcing that they're going to be doing for the 50th anniversary. Yeah,
we'll also have Rogue One 10-year anniversary. So that could be, who knows, a screening. I was joking with our buddy Ken Plume, like, they're going to do a Rogue One screening with director Tony Gilroy and just forget that Gareth Edwards had anything to do with it. No, I kid. But yeah, we got 10 years of that. That'll be fun too this year.
I mean, that would be amazing if they did a Rogue One documentary and be like, it's 10 years. Most of this dirty laundry has already been spilled. So let's just have,
do it.
Let's have a documentary with a round table. Cause they seem generally both pretty cool about this is what happened. And Gareth Edwards has been out there saying, yep, I was still on set. I was still doing things, but he came in and that would be fascinating. I do think Rogue One will get a re-release because of the popularity of Andor and its continued status as the safest film to bring up at a party without anyone getting mad.
And I would love if they did a big extravaganza screening of the last episode of Andor rolling right into Rogue One.
That would be fantastic. That would be great. Yeah. And it'll be a special edition of Rogue One, and it'll just cut to B2 emo every once in a while.
It'll be Cassian.
I'm going to break my own heart. Anyway, that is it. That's our look forward at 2026 in the special edition of Rogue One with additional B2 emo.
There you go. Big year. Can't wait. We are here for it. So happy Star Wars New Year to all those out there. We'll keep going here into our next broadcast year. That is it for now. You can find us on social media at ForceCenter Pod. You can support us directly on Patreon at patreon.com/ForceCenter. Merch available at Fourth Wall or still TeePublic for right now. And don't forget to subscribe to the audio podcast. There's a debate again of audio versus video. It changes every 2-3 years of which is the right way to do it. But our audio feed still goes strong. And on Sundays, we re-release Databank Brawl. And we still got over a year of those episodes to re-release. It's we did a lot, so it's gonna be a lot of fun. Catch those. Good time capsule there too. Follow me at Ken Napzok or my website kennapzok.com for all the things I do, including comedy shows, live streams, music shows, all those kind of things. Joseph, you're moving forward even more in 2026 with your film project. So where can they find and follow and support you?
Yeah, you can find me on all the social media. My handle is at Joseph Scrimshaw, and you can go to my website, josephscrimshaw.com, to sign up for updates on the horror film we made, A Dead Media. It was a great accomplishment to finish the film, and now it feels like an even bigger accomplishment to attempt to try to get it out into the world. And there'll be more news coming up about different screenings. So if you want to be made aware of that, you can sign up for the Dead Media mailing list on my website, josephscrimshaw.com. Thank you for everyone's support on the film.
There you go. That's it. We'll see you next time here on ForceCenter.